chop all these siege tanks now. Those drones really desperately trying to run for their lives. There's Wednesday Night Starcraft.
vVv gaming. Thing like that, proxy Stargate, but he's going to come out with a build which you might never have prepared for. So both those players bringing something to the table in this best of series where you're one and done as a player, and if you take a game off the opposing team, you know, it's pretty important.
Yeah, so we are going to have binski spawning as the red Terran player, Time spawning as the blue Protoss on MLG Metalopolis. MLG Metalopolis, one of those maps, because it is going to be forced cross spawns, either full spawns or close air spawns, is one of those more well-balanced maps. Your natural expansion, pretty easy to take. That third expansion up on the high ground, also very easy for Protoss players to take, as they're able to set up gateways and cannons to prevent any run-ins along that far side. Terran players like this map just because they're able to get in a lot of air harassment if it is close air spawns, and it indeed is. Matron, why don't you go ahead and introduce the players on this map?
Yeah, it looks like we will have vVv Time spawning as the blue Protoss in the eastern position, and as you mentioned, close by air in the northern position is going to be binski spawning as the red Terran. So binski's got a little bit of a, I would say, an air advantage here, though Time has some sort of Stargate play against Terran. Be interesting to see that as well. But binski has some incentive to perhaps tech up to medevacs a little bit faster than some of the other players on this team. We saw Sin get up a little bit late on medevacs, and then their first player was just not able to, or Ner'zhul was not able to use the medevacs to drop into the base of Time. So binski has a pretty good opportunity here to perhaps take advantage of that. We see him going to be walling off here with the supply depot, and that means some sort of tech might be coming. He does not want that probe in his base, checking out his gas timing.
Yeah, we'll see if binski learns from Ner'zhul and Sin to put down some early pressure. You can see Time just currently chrono boosting. Nothing too strange or out of the ordinary coming in from Time, as we mentioned. As a barracks also coming down as well. I'm assuming that we are going to get a gateway, and now we finally have the probe away. And it will be coming into binski's base in just a moment, and they will be able to scout out and pretty much see what it needs to see. It knows that it is going to be a straight up play, at least for the moment. A barracks being placed down, also a refinery coming in. This isn't going to be any crazy, 11-11 racks marine push. We may see a factory coming into play, or just that standard early marauder with concussive shells. The walking distance rather close, since it isn't a full cross spawn, so he may try to execute the build a little bit better that Ner'zhul and Sin were unable to do.
Yeah, we'll see whether he goes for that. I mean, Sin tried it, and I think that Time showed that he can fend that off. Time has seen it so many occasions on the ladder that that he's prepared for it. So he's going to say, all right, if I pull 12 probes at this point and use them to force those Marines and Marauders to kite, I'm going to be able to hold this off, hold my expansion. And I don't think that binski is going to be smart going for that. It looks like he's getting a reactor and a barracks, so might be coming out with a lot of Marine pressure, delaying his tech and his research just a little bit here. So we do see he has the SCV in the base of Time. He's going to see just the one gas for Time, and Time already placing down a pylon here, a really strong pylon placement there, and it's basically going to cut in half the distance between the two bases.
Yeah, he'll be able to warp in units onto that low ground rather quickly. We can see that the reactor is coming into play, and this may be standard racks pressure. I am curious as to why binski is getting so much gas right now. He may be adding on a tech lab and then trying to research stim and train up marauders at the same time. That looks like it will be the case. And I'm curious as to what binski is going to transition into. And this is not any strategy that I normally see. And I believe the scouting probe, yes, will get taken down by the Marine of binski. That poor probe getting stuck on this light post right over there. Yeah, so a doodad killing off a unit as a stalker and a zealot now making its way out.
And that's tough for Time because he has no clue what's coming. He's only seen one Rex, he saw the gas, and he saw one Marine. So he doesn't know whether a second gas was quickly added, and he's going to have to get up detection to try to avoid Cloak Banshee doing a lot of damage. He doesn't know whether tank Marine pressure is coming out, and already binski trying to put a number of units at the top of this ramp and just deny scouting here. Time doing his best with a Stalker and a Zealot. Might actually sacrifice one of these to get some information, but just now pulling back, he at least knows how many units binski does have.
Yeah, and binski does have concussive shells now about to be completed, so the Stalker and the Zealot now trying to run all the way home. It looks like there's going to be a decent number of Marines and Marauders, and it is going to be very early pressure as SCV is also joining the fight as well. There's not that many units, and it looks like Time will have to be forced to pull down with those probes as well. You can also see the Stalker and the Zealot on the far side of the map, and having his army spread apart like this may actually be his downfall. We'll see if Time, he should be able to at least get one Stalker back as a probe now getting taken down, and now the SCVs may be able to get down this Nexus as bunkers also coming into play as well.
Oh, this is going to be tough to handle for Time. He's going to have to pull probes here. His warp gate tech has finished, but binski coming out with a lot more Marines than Sin did have, and now down comes the Guardian Shield and all the probes doing their best, but once these bunkers do go up, it's going to be very difficult for Time to hold this, as binski getting surrounded here a little bit by probes. The probes doing a ton of damage, and he might be able to shut this down. Yeah,
so I believe Time actually mineral pathed with his probes to try to break that front, but now in comes the bunker, so one bunker has been completed. The probes are trying to surround it, but I believe this bunker is just going to be able to hold it off there. Stalkers and sentries, more Zealots need to lead the way, but this is a definite problem, and Time going to lose his low ground Nexus.
Yeah, he does have a third bunker almost complete here, and it looks like binski is going to finish that off with this half-dead, or a half-alive SCV, I'm sure he'd consider himself. Another SCV repairing his buddy here, and now 3 bunkers are going to be on the low ground. Binski has a 44 to 34 advantage. 2 gas up for Time, but he's only mining off 1. He's got no tech, and it's going to be very difficult to break these bunkers without any sort of tech, immortals, or something else.
Yeah, what Time really needs to do is that Time needs to use the high ground. He does have enough range to shut down one of the bunkers, so that bunker will get destroyed. There's only going to be 1 bunker left. binski going to quickly salvage that in order to maximize it, and now the Marines and the Marauders, rallied outside the wrong way as a Zealot now being forced to pull back, and now binski pretty happy with his economic advantage, going to run and return home. You can see that the orbital or the command center about 75% done, as Time really needs to figure out what he's trying to do in this mid portion of this game.
Yeah, if you check out the units lost tab, it's 1625 to 800, and a lot of that was probes. It's 23 probes to 29 SCVs, and already binski is about to be on 2 bases. He's going to have those double mules. It looks like Time is getting up the robotics facility. He is mining his second gas, so he might be forced to go for some sort of 1-base timing push. Yes, he's going to come up with the robotics bay, so he's going to try to take advantage of his opponent, hoping binski gets a little bit greedy here, does not get up enough defense or tech to hold off these Colossi, and Time's going to have to go for some sort of interesting attack here and hope that it pays off.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about when I mentioned Time earlier. Time clearly lost that earlier battle, but Time, if he's not going to expand, he knows that if he tries to play catch up in this expansion game, that binski will obviously have the advantage here. So what he's going to do is put all his eggs in one basket and make his way out with Colossi. This is going to be a 1-base Colossi push. And now binski scouting out with this factory, and this factory may actually be the saving grace if he sees the robotics bay and that robotics facility being chrono boosted. He may expect it, and he perhaps will start double training Vikings, or perhaps even get another starport up, as Colossi with extended thermal lance range will easily eat through all of these Marines and Marauders, even if they are inside a bunker.
Oh no, binski! He had the factory there. There was only 1 Stalker, 1 sentry who saw that the factory could take it down, so not a lot of DPS or air-to-air there, and he pulled back at the last second. He saw neither the robotics facility nor the robotics bay, so he's going to have no clue this is coming unless he gets a money scan here. So I imagine he's not going to start Viking production. He already has a starport with a reactor. He needs to get those Vikings out if he's going to hold this off. We're going to have at least 2 Colossi out with a timing push here, and binski is not going to be prepared.
Yeah, what I think is going to happen is Time's going to wait for that 3rd Colossus. He's going to have 3 Colossi and then have a lot of Zealots. The Zealots are going to try to charge their way in, but we also see binski moving out with a lot of Marines and the Marauders. And now it's really going to depend on how binski uses this army. If he minimizes his losses, he'll be able to transition into Vikings. If he doesn't, the SCV quickly sees the getting cut in the face by a Colossus, and now we are getting Vikings. So binski forcing Time's hand, and now it looks like we will have an attack with all of these units.
Yeah, Time has to push out here. He has to do damage now. We do have double Vikings about to come out for binski, one about halfway done and another just starting. That or Time has to take a huge chunk out of the army of binski and expand here and try to get into a late game. As we see an encounter here, as we do have the concussive shell Marauders, going to be very strong against the Zealots, just kiting and pulling back, forcing that sentry to get up the Guardian Shield. And I'm not sure the medevacs are going to be able to heal up all these Marauders, though he might be able to pull back here. He's going onto the high ground of the southern base and pulling Time a little bit out of position there. So binski's going to have the southern force. He's going to be able to threaten a counterattack if Time does go northward here. And it looks like Time's going to do just that. A drop into the main of Time, going to be able to do a lot of damage as well.
Yeah, but there is a Colossus and a Stalker now making its way over, and it looks like sentries and Marines, Marines and Marauders now going to be able to just walk up the ramp. He needs to get a sentry. Time needs to get a sentry onto that ramp there in order to make sure that those units do not simply walk up there. But we are going to have, what, 2 Colossus now just trying to push their way up. There are some Vikings SCVs already repairing, but the SCVs are now getting destroyed as well, as the SCVs tanking as much damage as possible. It looks like the Colossi are going after the bunkers instead of the SCVs, as the SCVs were all nicely lined up and could have been easily taken down. Time does have a smaller army at this stage, but I believe another Colossus just came out, and it looks like Time continuing to push. Meanwhile, in the base, binski moving out and being able to destroy a lot of these Marines, destroy a lot with these Marines and these Marauders.
Yeah, and you do not want to get into a base trade with a Terran player. binski can just hop right across the channel there, and it looks like he's going to do just that, dropping a huge portion of his army back into his main. He could also lift off some buildings if he really wants to make the game longer. But now binski getting all of his SCVs, all of his units remaining into his main. He's going to have one last hurrah here to try to defend. Time's Nexus goes down. He has not rebuilt his base, and just a few units left for binski in the base of Time. And now he's going to stem up here and try to take down the units of Time. Time does not have the extended thermal lance, so the Colossus will go down very quickly as they are focused down. And just the Marines and the Marauders, the sheer power of stim, taking down all these units, and Time goes down.
Yeah, so Time losing Game 5 in this best of 7 series. Stay tuned for Game 6.